Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right. So shout out to everybody who is in the room already. If you guys can hear me okay, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me, give me a thumbs down or an angry face. I'm gonna shout out everybody that's in the building early, and we're gonna get into it. All right. So shout out to John Guillory, shout out to Tia2U, shout out to Brooklyn Queen, and that is all we got right now. So shout out to everybody who is in the building. Good to see you guys. If you guys haven't smashed that like button, make sure you guys smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, make sure you guys hit the bell and subscribe to the channel. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the root causes of the undocumented bros global issue, because the undocumented bros global issue is part of the issue that's bringing all of the undocumented bros to the southern border. However, the mainstream media does not cover the issue in its entirety, and it only talks about this situation as if it's isolated to the United States and isolated to the southern border, which it is not. We got the channel bros, we got the boat bros, we got undocumented bros global, and we got the domestic undocumented bros. All right. So it's also causing similar problems all over the world to what you see here in the United States. Now, the interesting thing about it is that the rest of the world has been going through this issue for a lot longer than we have here in the United States. But what's fascinating about the way that the United States is handling this is that in the attempt to remedy this situation, they're using methods that have already been used and failed in other places. And we're going to take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at how the mainstream media tends to frame people who support this type of situation versus people who are opposed to it. All right. So the first thing that we got here is an article from the Telegraph. All right. And what the Telegraph says is that politicians have created a multicultural monster beyond control. Who gets the blame? We do. Now, this is interesting, right? I'm going to ask you guys this question. Who is responsible for global multiculturalism? Let me know what you guys think the answer to that question is in the comment section. And also, let's ask this question. When did global multiculturalism start? Because if you listen to these mainstream media networks, if you listen to YouTube commentary, if you listen to a lot of people who deny reality, they're going to sit here and say that this multicultural phenomenon is a recent phenomenon, and history says otherwise. And what you see in mainstream media and what you see with a lot of YouTube commentary, a lot of social media commentary, is that there are a lot of people who want to conveniently deny the events of history, because the events of history show a common protagonist in most of these situations. And those people who are associated with that common protagonist are now at the point where this alleged society that has been set up is starting to implode on itself, and they want to distance themselves from being a part of that common protagonist, which is impossible at this point. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, back in July, around the time of my birthday, I happened to clock a protest by women my age in South Dublin. Several splendid Irish mammies with crossed arms and "don't mess with me, Mr." expressions were blocking roads in their neighborhoods after rumors circulated on social media that 60 undocumented male asylum seekers were to be housed there. We come out and stand here to protest to keep our children and grandchildren safe, and we are called racist, one woman said definitely, defiantly. People are afraid. There is no one coming to speak for us. All the political parties do is use Facebook to call frightened women racist and bullies. Now, that's not true. That's not true. And the thing is that when you benefit from racism, when you've been racist your entire existence. And when your interactions have the consequences and your interactions have the track record that they do when you encounter other people, you get that as a reputation, and you don't get to shake that as a reputation just because you don't want it. Sorry, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. Now, let me ask you guys this question. When it comes to quote unquote racism, why would anybody call any of these people quote unquote racist? Can we name events, situations that happened worldwide here or in the United States? Why somebody would call these people racist justifiably? So now here it says, what struck me about these women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, women with daughters and granddaughters to worry about, was that a major part of their anger arose from the fact that not only were they not being heard, they were being treated as the problem. They weren't the problem, and they know they weren't. Well, their denial of history is part of the problem. Their denial of history and their involvement in history and not acknowledging anything and trying to attempt to change anything and continuing to reap the benefits of all of the illegal things that were done in the past, all of that contributes to where we are now. Again, you don't get to just deny that. You know what I'm saying? The problem was that their government was allowing men from God knows where into their community, mainly young men who would want sex. How rarely that basic fact is mentioned, and who came from countries where girls with their heads uncovered, their flesh exposed, are viewed as fair game. Okay, now here's another question. Who destabilized those countries and continued to destabilize those countries and create a derangement of their internal politics for benefit, wealth, and global privilege? Who did that? Those countries were not always unstable, were they? That's my question for you guys. If those countries were indeed always unstable, give me a thumbs up. If they were not always unstable, then give me a thumbs down. It was perfectly clear to the Irish women that the safety of their children should come first above any other consideration. In any previous generation, it would have, but Western governments like theirs are so wedded to a multicultural experiment that they have failed to prevent a large number of illegal migrants and far too many legal immigrants, in the UK's case, into their countries, often without adequate checks. Now, that's interesting, right? Because they're managing the United States in the exact same way. Shout out to Carlton Wait. The undocumented bros will be coming for the women over here too. Yeah, well, the difference with the women over here is that they'll probably be coming for the undocumented bros too. As a matter of fact, the women here fly over to the undocumented bros to get paid. You know what I'm saying? To do something strange for some change. So that this right here kind of just makes the situation a little bit easier for women over here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So, when it comes to this particular thing, right? I disagree with their notion of a multicultural experiment. Multicultural experiment started when Europeans began to leave Europe, because for the most part, before that, every country was mainly a ethno state. Every continent, for the most part, was an ethno state. The the multicultural experiment, it's a multicultural experiment when you as a white person go to Africa. That's a multicultural experiment. It's a multicultural experiment when you as a white person go to Asia, decide to do things like colonize Hong Kong and the Philippines. Multiculturalism didn't just start yesterday. Multiculturalism is something that actually is the progenitor to racism. And the very people that are complaining because this failed society that they created is imploding are now on the other end of what they benefited from. And like I said, what we're looking at right now is terminal karma and nothing more. But they want to call it something else, but it's not something else. So I'd advise people to not call it something else. Multiculturalism didn't just happen in the last 2 or 3 years. It's not something that just happened that was trendy. Plantations in the South, multicultural. Who set those up? The Arabic slave trade, multicultural. Who set that up? Let me ask you guys this question. Can anybody that's in the comment section give me the date when European multiculturalism began? And has it ended? Is the question. So what you have here is you have the people who created and benefited from all of this. And now, because it was always an unsustainable system built on thin glass, and now the glass is starting to crack, now these people are outraged about it. There's nobody to complain about in this situation with Ireland except for the Irish government. There's no black people running the Irish government. There's no Asian people running the Irish government. Yeah, shout out to Carlton. Carlton says this multiculturalism probably began before that, but 1492, and multiculturalism began with a European expansion into the rest of the world. As a matter of fact, there's still evidence of European multiculturalism in the flags in some countries, like New Zealand and Australia. These are facts. This isn't fiction. That was political multiculturalism that these people don't want to take account for. The world didn't just start yesterday, and it didn't just start the way that it is today, as much as people would like to believe that. You know what I'm saying? It was perfectly clear to the Irish women that the safety of their children should come first above any other consideration. In a previous generation, it would have. Now, mind you, right, the expectation for these Irish women is for their children to come first. The expectation when it comes to black people is that our babies are aborted. Who set that expectation? That's the question. One of the reasons why, if you ask me, I always tell people, I don't know why people say, well, they told us to do this and people listen. Like, why do you listen? You know what I'm saying? In any previous generation, it would have, but Western governments like theirs are so wedded to a multicultural experiment. And let's not get it twisted here. Why are Western governments wedded to a multicultural experience? Let's talk about that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Why are Western governments wedded to a multicultural experience? What do you guys think? What's you guys' explanation for that? It says that Western governments, quote unquote, are wed to a multicultural experiment. My question for you guys is, why is that? The reason why I feel that Western governments are wed to a multicultural experiment is because Western governments were born out of a multicultural experiment. They were born out of a multicultural experiment. So now it says that they have failed to prevent a large number of illegal migrants and far too many legal immigrants, in the UK's case, into their countries, often without adequate checks. So this often without adequate checks part, that's something that we're seeing here in the United States. However, make no mistake of this. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Caldona, shout out to DC Precise, and shout out to Antithesis. What's good with it? The Western governments are a result of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism that started back in the 1400s, like Carlton said. Who initiated that multiculturalism? Let me know in the comment section who initiated the multiculturalism experiment. This is such a vast episcopal mistake The consequences are so volatile and hard to control that governments are now running scared and cannot own up to their mistake. Well, that's something that it seems very common in that region of the world with that particular group of people. Instead, the people must be blamed for their hateful reaction to the mistake. The very thing those South Dublin mammies were supposedly fear-mongering about happened last week in, oh, look, Dublin. 3 tiny children and a teacher were stabbed in a crazed knife attack. Now, do you all remember on the last live stream when we talked about this knife attack? If you guys remember that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't remember that, give me a thumbs down. The chief suspect is a man who arrived from Algeria 2 decades ago who has come to Garda attention for possession of a knife and who was scheduled for deportation years ago, but won the right to remain in Ireland in the High Court. Shocking riots, which they're not shocking because anytime you look around over there, something crazy is going on. But okay, we're just going to act like it's shocking to make ourselves not look as bad. Shocking riots broke out on the streets of the city. Irish Garda Commissioner Drew Harris condemned the disgraceful scenes in Dublin, claiming that a hooligan faction driven by far-right ideology was behind the violence on the street. And they were so outraged by it that they didn't do anything violent to stop it from happening. They didn't do anything violent to stop it from happening. But that wasn't the whole story. It's true that a lot of opportunistic yobs piled in, looting shops and setting fire to vehicles. But it's also true that peaceful protests came to a head in that blazing eruption of public anger. So it's interesting how when you see all of this, this is the same as January 6th. The January 6th was a peaceful protest. This was a peaceful protest. You guys saw the videos from this where they were turning cars over, burning stuff up, jumping on windshields. That was a peaceful protest. You know what I'm saying? As the political commentator John McGurk, editor of Gripped website, tweeted, when thousands of people protested peacefully in East Wall and other communities across Dublin, their reward was to not be recognized or engaged with for peaceful participation. Their reward was to be called far-right, deplorable, and dregs of Irish society, which is interesting because here in the United States, that's what happened to black people who peacefully protest. Going back to the civil rights era. Let me ask you guys a question. Who initiated all of the violence during the civil rights era? Let me know in the comment section. Who was it that caused all of the violence during the civil rights era? Who was it? That should be an easy one. Every single effort has been made to silence people. Today, they made themselves heard. I wish they had chosen another way. And then I remember they did, and you all refused to listen, which is interesting because nobody listens to us. And then when we turn up, people get outraged about it. When they turn up, they're always doing it for a valiant reason. It's never a valiant reason. It's always crybaby nonsense. You know what I'm saying? The appalling attack on children came just a few days after a Slovak Romi migrant was jailed for the deletion of a teacher, 23-year-old Aisling Murphy. The brutal killing shocked Ireland. Last year, an Iranian migrant deleted 2 Irish LGBTQ men, decapitating one of them. What were those appalling primitive brutes even doing in the country? So there you go with some dog whistling. There you go with some dog whistling right there. So now here says Prime Minister Leo Varadkar and his woke commissars act swiftly to suppress unhelpful thoughts, branding them far right. The new phrase for patriotism and defending your culture. Okay. Which is not true. Let me ask you guys this question. Is far right the new phrase for patriotism and defending your culture? Is that a true statement? If that's a true statement, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If it's not a true statement, give me a thumbs down. I'm pretty sure that if you go and look up the definition of far right, the definition of far right is not patriotism and defending your culture. DC Precise says for the mentally ill it is. Right. There's mounting evidence, however, that the left-leaning Irish people are also concerned about the damaging impact of the rapid demographic change. So now let me ask you guys this question. When it comes to the United States, we all know that the left is a dog whistle for black people, right? Anytime anybody mentions the left, that's a dog whistle for black people as a collective whole. But now, how do you deal with this situation in Ireland when we're talking about the left? Let me ask you guys this question. What does quote unquote the left look like in Ireland? What does the left look like in Ireland? Does the left have a fro and a pick? What's the left look like in Ireland? In Ireland, is the left, you know, Ketanji Brown Jackson? What is the left in Ireland? Who is there to blame for these failures of Ireland? Is my question. You know what I'm saying? 1/5 of Ireland's 5 million population are now foreign born. Polled on the question, I think the number of refugees in Ireland is now taking in too many. 75% agreed and 70% backed. I can appreciate some of the anger people feel about asylum seekers being moved into their local area. So now let me ask you guys a question. You know, all of those people who are non-FBA, do you guys ever see them go into Irish spaces and tell the Irish people that they're xenophobic for wanting to maintain Ireland and its current demographic distribution? Yeah, that was the St. Patrick's Day massacre that they celebrate. Shout out to Tia. Yeah. Have you ever seen any non-FBA black people go into a European space and tell them that they're xenophobic because they want to maintain their population demographics? Have you ever seen that occur? And my question is, if you haven't ever seen it occur, why haven't you seen it occur? I've never seen it occur either, and I'm curious as to why it doesn't occur. Why is it that it doesn't occur? You would think that it would. Yet the only problem the Irish authorities were prepared to admit had been caused by the vast number of incomers is a quote unquote rise in anti-immigrant sentiment. You see what they did there? It's your fault you're scared, you bigots. Now, here's the thing, right? They're not scared. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Are these people scared? Did it look like anybody was scared during that riot? When you go up to a police car and flip a police car over, that really doesn't show that you're scared, does it? That doesn't show that you're scared. Repulsively, Varadkar devoted less than 10% of his post riot press conference to the attempted slaughter of tiny children, preferring to degenerate the white working class for their racism. So, again, in this situation here, we have them accusing white people of being racist towards other white people. Because when those Arabic migrants fill out a job application, what box do they check off? If you look under racial classifications, what classification are people from Iran or Iraq classified as? And also, who makes up the majority of this government that's making these rules and these decisions? So now all of a sudden we're helpless. We just don't know what to do. So now, do you guys notice how in every situation, everywhere, all over the world, somehow it's just white people are the victims? I mean, this is in Ireland. This is the government these people elected. This is the country that these people have lived in forever. Mind you, is also a majority white government, so they're not being oppressed by any outside body. So what is the deal here? What is going on here? Now, let me ask you guys a question. How many people in this comment section have contributed to an issue going on in Ireland? If you've contributed to an issue going on in Ireland, give me a thumbs up. If you guys have not contributed to an issue going on in Ireland, then give me a thumbs down. I know I haven't. I'm pretty sure you guys haven't either. These people came to the United States with anti-black sentiments and still harbor anti-black sentiments. Shout out to Win Loser Rug. What's good with it, bro? Still harbor anti-black sentiments. And literally will sit there, and they have a population of less than 8% black people and still talk crap about black Americans, and black Americans aren't even the black people who are over there. So make that make sense. That's why you get called racist. That's why you get called bigots. And that's why you'll continue to get called racist and continue to get called bigots. As long as you're being a racist or being a bigot, that's what you'll get called. That's what you'll get addressed as. As long as your culture is consistent with that, it's what you get addressed as. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, in a devastating victim impact statement, Ashling Murphy's boyfriend, Ryan Casey, demanded, how can someone come to this country, get social housing, social welfare, not hold down a job of any description, and never contribute to... This is not a country that Ashling and I grew up in and once loved. It has officially lost its innocence. Ireland has never been innocent. Ireland is the home of Roth Island. Do you guys know what went on Roth Island? What does Roth Island sound like? This country needs to wake up. This time, things have got to change. This country is simply not safe anymore. I'm afraid our country is heading down a very dangerous path. These countries in Europe all headed down dangerous paths when they set out to do the global mission that they did. Would you guys agree? When these countries joined together and set out to do the global mission that they did, that was the start of the dangerous path that they went down. And they went full blast. So since you went full blast and you use no half measures, when everything starts to collapse, it's going to collapse just as hard as you went. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing that people say. You're going to go out just as hard as you came in. Ryan's impassioned speech was omitted from every report of the trial, but they can't stop it resonating in the heart of millions. Now, let me ask you guys this question. What kind of Jim Crow did Irish people go through in Ireland? They had their own respective wars with other white people, right? Protestants, the IRA, Catholics, Christians. They had wars with the Brits. That don't have nothing to do with anybody else anywhere in the world. You know what I'm saying? That don't have nothing to do with anybody else in the world. And like I said, like we've been saying, their model of what they consider a society is unsustainable. And we're looking at the collapse of it financially, societally, all over the place in any of these Western countries that was involved. Surely by now it is. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? Where are our articles about situations like this? Because these people really literally have nothing to talk about, but we've got everything to talk about. And yet and still, when it comes to publications, you don't see articles like this published and made readily available for us to read and take in. Now, that could be because of two different things. One thing could be because we haven't taken the time, resources, concentration, and strategy to create sustainable media apparatuses. And for the other reason, if you ask me, this is the harsh truth. I don't think there's enough people even interested. And honestly, I don't think there's enough people to have enough pride in themselves. There's more people like us who would rather go to bat in fights that they have no idea what they're about, like what's going on over there in Ireland, and bat for those people in Ireland and try to deflect their issues back onto Black America when they're Black themselves, instead of contributing to what we have going on. There's a large amount of people like us who act like human shields for these other people. You literally saw that on InfoWars. I don't care about the plight of people who dominated the world if I haven't benefited from any of that world domination. I don't care. I don't feel sorry for these people. I don't expect these people to feel sorry for me. Matter of fact, historically, they've already spoken. It's the same thing that I feel when people just start overloading me with a bunch of bullshit that they got going on in their life. I don't really give a shit about this. I got my own shit to worry about. Yeah, facts, win, lose, or rug. Dude on InfoWars was pathetic. But he's honestly, bro, there's more people like him out there than there are like us, which is insane, but it's sad. It's also a result of this society that we have, because society provides incentives and rewards for people to behave in that way. Because if you behave in that way, it helps to preserve their well-being. And that's what the society is all about. That's what the society is set up for. The society is set up for the preservation of their well-being at the expense of any and everybody else. Shout out to OG Patrice. What's good with it? Surely by now it is clear that the Irish and indeed the population here in the UK are being gaslit on a grand scale. Undocumented males from the war-torn Middle East and North Africa arriving in our neighborhood are not the problem, they say smoothly. Now, here's an interesting situation. Why are those countries in the Middle East war-torn? You guys got any ideas for me? Why are those countries in the Middle East war-torn? You know what people like the people in Ireland think? All the rest, if you're not European, all of the rest of the problems in the world are the result of you not being European. That's their cultural philosophy on how they view other people. That has been their cultural philosophy on how they view other people. They have books that validate that as their cultural philosophy. Books like The Bell Curve, books like The Downfall of Mankind, written by Charles Darwin. This is what they believe. And it shows. And it shows because every interaction that they have with any other group of people that's identifiably different, the immediate interaction is always the same, an attempt to subjugate. So now, again, I got to ask the question, why is the Middle East war torn? I guarantee you that European countries have more military bases in and around the Middle East than the Middle East has around and in European countries. Isn't that a interesting dynamic? But yet these people can sit here and dishonestly say, well, the reason why these people are fighting like that is just because they're barbarous and non-white. That's what they say. You guys saw it up here. They call these people here archaic brutes. Now, regardless had they committed a crime or not, that is how they view everybody. What if that individual was a perfectly mannered individual who was a straight A student at an Ivy League school, who then worked as a surgeon, who did pro bono free surgeries on the weekend, they would still look at him like that because that's how they are wired. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, it's prejudiced people like us who don't want young foreign men with no concept of Western values around our daughters and granddaughters that are the problem. Yeah. So what I find interesting is that the immediate response of what these people do is they try to create a birth of a nation scenario. Oh, everybody's after our women. Literally have a track record of exploiting the women of other cultures. There's a famous woman in every culture that's been exploited by white men. Pocahontas, Sarah Bartman, shit, Cleopatra. There's a famous woman in every culture, and their fame came from being exploited by white men. But yet, these people project the fear that their biggest worry is that if people that they don't know or recognize comes around, that somebody's going to hurt our daughter. Isn't that interesting? European people exploited black women to the point where there is a derogatory term for black women who are involved with white men. There's a derogatory term as a result of white male exploitation of black women. Like I said, they go around making people famous. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I say exploit, I'm not talking about a situation where you got people married. I'm talking about slavery exploitation. wet mammying and stuff like that. This is projection at its finest. Another thing is, like I've always said, I believe that when it comes to the rest of the world, that only white people have true preferences. Everybody else has brain damage. I listen to a lot of this content on YouTube and I hear these women talk about preferences and all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Men had these preferences and all that. Women had the same preferences, but they try to shame men about the preferences. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe that non-white people have preferences. I believe that non-white people have white supremacist brain damage, and only white people have preference. And what's interesting about white people's preference is that if you pay close attention to the changing what's like a fashionable woman, the preferences that they have change based on the appearances that they see of women of other cultures, which is really interesting. But that's never addressed. There's no psychological studies on that or anything like that. We, you know what I'm saying? We had a lot of YouTube psychologists that don't have their channels anymore, that always talked about pathologies. You know what I'm saying? But what I find interesting is that they never talked about the pathology of those individuals. You know what I'm saying? So now my question is, how come that's not talked about? Let me ask you guys this question. There when it comes to like red pill content, black pill content, there's always been like this framing of a controversial topic of a quote unquote European beauty standard. How many people have ever heard that term, European beauty standard? If you guys have ever heard that term, European beauty standard, give me a thumbs up. If you guys haven't heard that term, give me a thumbs down. Now, let me ask you guys this question. What is a European beauty standard? What is it? What does it mean? What does it actually mean? You hear people, they throw it around all the time. Oh, there's a European beauty standard. European beauty standard. But what does it actually mean? Deneen Grant says white skin, thin, long hair. I think that that could be part of it, but I actually think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I think that that's like the starting point. Tia says most people think it means Caucasoid. Caldona said it means what's deemed acceptable to those of European descent. I think that Caldona is really close with that answer there. Jay Field said 12-year-old boy built long ass nose. That's hilarious. I don't think that a European beauty standard necessarily even just includes white women. I don't think that. I don't think that. I think that a European beauty standard is what European males see as attractive. So when a European male is looking at a white woman or a black woman or other groups of women, it's what they see as attractive, not just basing the standard on a white woman, basing the standard on what a European man sees attractive. So if a European man is looking at Holly Berry and says she looks good, that's the European standard for quote unquote a so-called quote unquote black woman. If a European man looks at Lucy Liu and says, okay, she looks okay, that's a quote unquote European standard for a Asian woman. I don't think that a European beauty standard is just based on white women. I think it's based on what white men see ideal or attractive in whatever group of women that they're observing. And as a result, that has been placed onto everybody for a long time. See how Prince Harry is with Meghan Markle? Is a lot of brothers for a long time, you know what I'm saying, that, the light skin thing was popping as far as women go. That's what Prince Harry picked out. You know what I'm saying? Or Prince Andrew or whoever, whatever that motherfucking name is. But it ain't no women that look like Meghan Markle for the most part in Africa. That's a result of people that live on the border and cultures crossing over, or people that have, interculturally, interracially married, or a result of a similar situation to what went on in Italy with Hannibal or the transatlantic slave trade. When they went to Africa, the woman that they picked out was Sarah Bartman. You know what I'm saying? That's a European beauty standard. There's a whole bunch of European beauty standards. When people when Tia said, you promised to start an ugly light skin committee. What's up with it? I'm not just a player, I'm the president. You know what I'm saying? So like if you have like a white friend, whether it's a man or a woman, you know what I'm saying? Somebody that they say that's like a black person that they think is attractive, it might be real different than somebody that you think is attractive. Because people think that different shit is attractive. The problem is that because of the education system, because of WS, because of all the propaganda, it's been their idea of what they think is attractive that's been forced onto everybody. So then what happens is that everybody tries to replicate those ideas of what they see as attractive. You know what I'm saying? Which is funny because like to me, like people don't understand what's obvious. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, this isn't to drag anybody or disrespect anybody or anything like that. But like when you see people get the different color weaves and stuff like that, right? I've never seen a white man with a black woman who's got like a blonde or a redhead weave. They usually be with a dark skinned woman that's got like just regular natural hair, whether it's long or whether it's short. But for some reason, people feel that that's to some type of beauty standard. Nah, that's the type of white women that they like. That's not accounting for the type of black women that they like, because that might be different. But see, I think that most people have misinterpreted that European beauty standard as just as it pertains to quote unquote white men versus white women. I don't think that that's how it is. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's the image of what they think is attractive forced onto the world through propaganda. You know what I'm saying? Now, why is that important? The reason why that's important is because of racism. They always prioritize self first. So they may see somebody else that's attractive, but they always going to prioritize self first, which means that regardless if they have an attractive woman of another race, they still going to prioritize self first, which means that they're going to say somebody else looks better, whether it's true or not in their own mind, which is how you get this quote unquote Victorian image, right? So since they've created this Victorian image that's been broadcasted through the entire world, they've created this illusion of quote unquote desirability. Well, when you create the image of desirability and you propagate that, you know what I'm saying? You propagate that to the entire world for centuries. Well, motherfuckers gonna desire that shit. So while they're sitting up here complaining about these quote unquote thirsty men, they might be thirsty as a result of their culture coming from being Islamic, but let's not give credit to where credit is due in the creation of that thirst. You're the one that created movies like Birth of a Nation, acting like people's running through fires to get through to your women because there's some treasure that's buried in the bottom of the ocean. You know what I'm saying? Y'all the one that advertised that like that. Never thought about that could possibly put somebody in danger at some point in their life or at some point in the future. Because now you've just created this situation of overvalue propaganda. You know what I'm saying? But that's what we're looking at. So now what we're going to do is we're going to act like we didn't damage the entire world's brains with our propaganda. We're going to act like we didn't create this idea. And now what we're going to do is we're going to act like we're scared that anytime our daughters go around anybody, you know what I'm saying? They're in danger. Here's my question for you guys. How much of that danger did they contribute to? Got King Kong. That's my point. Exactly, Jay. Part of the propaganda. Exactly. Now, this is my question for y'all. How much of that thirst are they responsible for creating? Hollywood, the media, the cartoons. People always talk about, black women being sexualized, right? You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to like the media, TV, hip hop, and all of that. I do agree that black women have been very sexualized, but I would say that there's other women who have been sexualized as well. However, the sexualization that they have been done that has been done to them is opposite of the sexualization that's been done to black women. The sexualization that WS propaganda has done to black women has been to make black women appear to have low value and low worth. The sexualization that's been done to other groups of women has been done to make them appear to have overvalued worth. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what it is, it's still sexualization. And as a result of that sexualization, you've overvalued the worth. And now you got a demand curve problem. And now that you got a demand curve problem, we're going to act like we had nothing to do with it. No, 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 no. It's not how it works. Let me ask you guys a question. If you go to a car show, who's always on top of a car? Who's always on top of a car? Who's always at a car show by a motorcycle? Look in a magazine. Go pick up a lowrider magazine. This is what propaganda has done. Sexual exploitation of any kind, whether it's to devalue or overvalue, it ends up ultimately having the same result. It ultimately has the same result. Negative consequences for both parties. And what you're looking at in Ireland and the fear that these people have about what's going on with their daughters is one of those negative consequences. But again, there's no responsibility taken for that. There's no referencing of history in regards to this. None of it. Nothing. All of this stuff just happened arbitrarily out of the clear blue sky for no reason. Because that's what always happens. Everything always happens arbitrarily out of the clear blue sky for no reason. Always. Duh. Just like the Big Bang. It just happened, right? You know what I'm saying? Surely by now it is clear that the Irish and indeed the population here in the UK are being gaslit on a grand scale. Now, here's my question for you guys. Who's gaslighting them? Because we could say that the entire world has been gaslit. Who have we been gaslit by? Because we have. There's evidence of it. Like Jay was saying, King Kong, Birth of a Nation. We've been gaslit. The Color Purple. The world jumps on the idea that black men are sexual degenerates, violent, low IQ, and low impulse. The world loves that idea. That's why people know that all you got to do is just accuse a black person of something and you automatically guilty. That's one of the reasons why, like, as a man, I'm sitting up here watching this whole Eric Adams thing go down, and I'm like, there's certain people that just, you know what I'm saying, you can kind of tell what they get down is. Eric Adams just don't strike me as that. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm going to keep saying it until it's some proof. Eric Adams don't strike me as somebody that's going to be out here, like, SAing women. I'm sorry. He just don't. Russell Brand does. Russell Brand strikes me as a creep. Eric Adams just don't. He don't strike me as a creep. He strike me as a bad politician. You know what I'm saying? But he don't strike me as no predator, though. You know what I'm saying? But the world loves that kind of propaganda. And the world has created a nice lane for itself. That anytime something happens, you can just blame a black person. And if you ever doubt yourself, all you got to do is just turn on the news, and one of us is always committing a crime. Yeah, exactly. I actually agree with that. Shout out to Tia. Yeah, Eric Adams seemed like the type that if I would be more inclined to believe that Eric Adams had paid for some escorts or some hookers than he SA'd somebody. I would actually, that would actually be kind of comical if he did that shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, yeah, I can see that happening. But as far as him, like, I'm just gonna take it. Nah, he don't strike me as that type of dude. And I actually agree with that too, Carlton. Like I said, to me, Eric Adams, one of them old dudes that got swag. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I could see Eric Adams talking a bunch of sweet nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't buy that. Like, I'm sorry, like I don't buy that. You know what I'm saying? I don't buy that story. I just don't. Me being like as a dude, you can kind of tell who's a weirdo and who's not. And he just don't strike me as a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? But because of the propaganda, Look, hey, shout out to TD Hip Hop Media putting my business out there. He said, side note, I hate when Rob don't have to go to work, and he knows why. Ah, you're gonna be up all night. You know what I'm saying? But they created that lane. They created that blame shift where how many instances have we seen of these criminals? Speaking of undocumented bros, there was an undocumented bro who deleted somebody. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been his baby mom or deleted somebody, and then he said a black dude did it. Man, what's crazy is that if somebody who's a in this society that we live in, if somebody that is non-black is convicted or accused of a crime, literally Asian people, Latinos, the rest of society is like, just like we thought, it was a black person. And then they go about their business. And there's no defense mechanism for us against that we need to start creating a defense mechanism. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something, man. I can't stand when I go into an elevator or when I'm in close quarters with somebody and little helpless ass acting helpless acting ass woman that probably got a 45 in her coat pocket want to sit there and act like I'm even interested in doing something harmful to her. Worldwide propaganda. I don't even want to talk to you and shit. I'm just in here trying to get to where I got to go. And you holding your purse and shit. I don't want your crusty mothball ass purse. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to talk to you either. I don't give a fuck about you. But the world has created this propaganda loop, and it's just okay. You always got a fall guy. There's always an available fall guy. Is there a black person around? Even the police used to do this. If we can't solve a cold case, we just gonna snatch up a black person off the street. There we go. Case closed. That right there is how you get all of these black people, now that DNA evidence is available, exonerated. What race were those police officers that did that? When it comes to the East Coast, when it comes to Chicago, those were mainly Irishmen. Those were mainly Irishmen. They contributed to that. Contribution without rectification should not be ignored, if you ask me. I never have, and I don't believe in forgive and forget. You know what I'm saying? So this whole thing of, oh, if there's some men that, I mean, here's my thing. I don't understand like why we don't adopt some of this Karenism and start acting like that with them. Why don't people do that? Everybody's after me. Nobody's after you. Nobody cares. Shout out to TD Hip Hop Media. TD Hip Hop Media said they actually made a joke about that on the cartoon American Dad a couple years ago, where the alien shot up some people in the house, and then when the cops came, he blamed it on a black guy. And you know why that's funny? You know why that's humorous? You know why that makes everybody laugh? Because it's true. Now, the same white people that say that racism doesn't exist will be the same white people that will crack up laughing at that joke. Oh, I've done that before. There's some N-word still in jail right now because I had to delete my wife and he happened to be walking down the street. Oh, I gotta send him a postcard and tell him thank you. Like, seriously? 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 So I'm gonna read this again. It's prejudiced people like us who don't want young foreign men with no concept of Western values around our daughters and our granddaughters that are the problem. Okay. Now, I find it interesting, right? When they came to all these different places, like when they brought their daughters and granddaughters to South America, to North America, to the Philippines, to Asia, to Africa, they weren't worried about people without Western values when they did that. They weren't worried about people without Western values on a plantation, were they? Because Irish people had plantations. They weren't worried about that then, were they? So now here says, so why do I keep being sent stories about British women being terrorized on the streets of their town? I don't know. Probably because that's been going on since Jack the Ripper, would be my guess. Here's just one email I got last week from a Telegraph reader, in Staffordshire. The situation with the migrants in Cannock is dire, writes Jenny. Women cannot go out on the streets alone, especially at night. The males gather around school gates and follow the girls, and they follow the women around in gangs. They do not speak English, which makes their behavior all the more alarming. Now, I want you guys to pay attention, right? Because this type of group of men that they're talking about, this very same type of group of men is the same group of men that assaulted ASAP Rocky, who ended up in jail the whole time. Nobody cared. Did you hear anything about Irish people or any people in Norway or Sweden or Finland talking about the migrant situation then when they had an American celebrity attacked and they jailed the American celebrity? You guys remember that? If you guys remember that whole ASAP Rocky situation, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't, give me a thumbs down. It was some undocumented bros, the same undocumented bros that these people are talking about assaulted. They want to assault and do all kind of stuff to their granddaughters. Assaulted, you know what I'm saying? ASAP Rocky. None of these people came to bat for ASAP Rocky. As a matter of fact, these people, not the Irish people, white people in Europe, put ASAP Rocky in jail. Oh, all that migrant shit went out the window. All that outrage shit went out the window. When they had an opportunity to get some migrants for assaulting an American celebrity, they put the black American celebrity in jail. That's what they decided to do. And he got attacked. Not only did he get attacked, he tried to de-escalate it. They had it on video. He walked away from him for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So now here's my question. Why did that happen? Blame it on the black dude. So you're so what they did in that situation was they protected these very migrants that they're complaining about right here. When it came to ASAP Rocky, if it's the migrants or ASAP Rocky got to go. And we all know that on an international level, ASAP Rocky is a proxy for black man. So when it comes to how these countries like Ireland and all these other places look at black men, if you get attacked by these migrants, the same ones that they claim are coming for their daughters, you going to jail first. Black first. B1, put you in jail first. You know what I'm saying? then they want to turn around and act like they're so worried about these migrants. When you have an opportunity to put a migrant in jail for doing something that they actually did, instead of actually putting the migrant in jail, y'all go B1J, black first in jail. You know what I'm saying? Right. Super facts. If you guys agree with Black Free Thinker, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. They like to play the nuance game per ethnicity, per nationality, but they see us all as the N-word. Bottom line. Facts. Big facts. And they really don't even have that big of an issue with the migrants. Honestly, for real, they're just happy that it's not black migrants. Let's keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? So now, then it says they do not speak English, which makes their behavior all the more alarming. When the police are, which is funny because some places in Ireland they don't speak English, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? When the police are called, they arrive in their cars, place the men in them, then drive them back to where the illegal migrants were living. So that's exactly what goes on here in the United States with the migrants. That's what happens in the United States with the migrants. They send them back to the spot where they committed the crime at, not to their country. You know what I'm saying? So now it says this happens daily. Locals have written to the council and MPs that the outcome is that anyone who is worried about this is invited to sessions with the police who tell them there is nothing to be done and that the quote unquote, which this is hilarious, indigenous population have to alter their behavior so as to not cause upset among the migrant population. That's kind of actually what's going on here in the United States and has been going on in the United States for a long time. The non-indigenous population is going around telling the indigenous population what to do. This is one of the reasons why I say this undocumented bro situation is terminal karma. It's terminal karma. Women are advised not to go out alone in the evening and be mindful of the way that they are dressed. You will have to forgive me, but learning about women in my own country being advised to adjust their behavior and their clothing to avoid inflaming men who arrived here uninvited makes me mad as hell. The fact that this is what's annoying about this. The fact that these people feel that I don't even want to go there. Like I can't say how I feel about this without possibly breaking community guidelines. But I'm gonna just leave you guys' imagination to what I might be thinking. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says multiculturalism only works, and it's a big if newcomers are obliged to interact with the host culture, not the other way around. Now, when white people went to other countries, did they oblige the host culture? Did they do that? Did the original OG multiculturalists oblige the host culture? You know, I'm gonna tell you guys something about white people. The only people that they ever attempted to force host culture on is us. Everybody else just does it voluntarily. Everybody else, and even some of us do it voluntarily. You know what I'm saying? Now here they are crying about multiculturalism, and they created multiculturalism. They're the one that multiculturalized the world. They displaced people, brought them all over the place, shipped people here, shipped people there, changed people's last names, brought people here, brought people there. Then they mad because people don't know the accurate accounts of their history when they the ones burn the books. Oh yeah, they're multiculturalist. They're multiculturalist, bro. They're absolutely multiculturalist. Here's why I say that they're multiculturalist. Because before they went on their westward expansion, every country and every continent was an ethno state. Now, the very people that complain about not having their own ethno state are the very people that diversified and relocated the entire world. They integrated the world, which makes them the OG multiculturalists, because it wasn't multicultural before. But they're greedy. They wanted to steal from Africa, and they wanted to fuck everybody. So they took those good Christian values and said that God told us to do this, and so it was. Now, when I say multicultural, right, that don't necessarily mean, oh, I use chopsticks, you use a fork. Let me try your fork, you can try my chopsticks. I ain't talking about like that. I'm talking about they got a whole diverse group of people, and the diversity literally is only skin deep. I got a lot of people to look at, but on the inside, y'all gonna be exactly like how I tell y'all to be. That's their idea of multiculturalism. See, it's different. There's a difference between cultural appreciation and multiculturalism. They practice multiculturalism. Multiculturalism means we're going to get multiple cultures and we're going to reprogram you to be an extension of our culture. That's how you got Filipinos with Spanish last names, FBA, you know what I'm saying, with names that are more English than the people in England. That's how you get that. You know what I'm saying? Boarding schools in Canada with all the indigenous Canadians buried in them because, they just decided to steal their children. Shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Black Spider B1. What's good with it? That's how you get that. Like the modern diverse evangelical mega churches. Exactly. Like Candace Owens and Larry Elder as a diversity hire. Like that type shit. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons why I always tell people WS is the most diversified, multicultural employer in the entire world. You know what I'm saying? Because it's true. Literally weaponized diversity, which is sick. You know what I'm saying? The British political class needs to look urgently across the Irish Sea to glimpse what dangers lie ahead. Now, mind you, these are self-created issues. These problems are all self-induced problems. All self-induced problems. Now, mind you, they will sit there and tell a black person, well, black people sold other black people into slaves. Shout out to P. What's good with it, P? But these are self-induced problems for real. No accountability whatsoever. Oh, multiculturalism. Oh, these countries are at war. How about remove your military bases and stop exploiting the people in those countries, and maybe they won't be at war. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, as a grief-stricken Ryan Casey urged us, we need to wake up as a country. Major public support is emerging for an immediate 5-year freeze on all further immigration into the UK so we can absorb the huge numbers already here. 53% of all voters agree. So now, as you guys can see, if you ask me, right, all of these other countries that were getting this large influx of migrants, they're all working on somehow attempting to decrease that influx of migrants. They're attempting to decrease that number, right? Now, let me ask you guys this. What is the possibility that those countries might have had some type of backdoor talk or some type of backdoor deal and told the United States, we're not taking in any more migrants. We just don't have the physical space. And the United States might have said, well, you're in luck. We got a little bit of space. And so now what you have is that you could possibly have this situation where you got the United States accepting the backlogs from a lot of these other countries that have said, nope, we're shutting it off. Immigrants are no longer welcome in our country. And then you get the undocumented bros problem. You know what I'm saying? Just a theory, just a thought. What do you guys think? So now here it says major public support is emerging for an immediate 5-year freeze on all further immigration into the UK. So we can absorb the huge numbers already here. 53% of all voters agree, 78% of conservative voters, and 33% of Labour voters. Instead, the Prime Minister this week, gaily, urged yet more foreign students to come, and his Suella-less cabinet shut their eyes and looked the other way. Laura Ferris, newly appointed parliamentary under Secretary of State for Victims and Safeguarding, said the arrival of hundreds of thousands of immigrants could embolden political extremists. Yeah, right, Laura. That's obviously the main threat posed by the out of control mass immigration presided over by hapless government. Seriously, where do they find these people? I don't know about you, but I stand with the Irish mammies guarding their communities like lionesses. So again, I want you guys to pay very close attention to the OG Karens. They're not gonna. What are those? The women are the ones that got deleted, and also in that situation where that individual stabbed up those people outside that school in Dublin, it was women protecting him from the men who were beating him up. Confused ass chicks standing out somewhere just being outraged about any damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Black Spider with the $20 super chat. Make sure you guys show her some love. Throw some radiation emoji in the chat. Definitely appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. The likes of the toe rags. So here you go, coming into this country. They're not vetted and causing havoc. So I want people to pay very close attention, right? Because what I warn people is never, whether you agree with it or not, always make sure you're not parroting them folks' talking points. Always make sure that you're not doing that. It doesn't matter if it's something that you agree with or disagree with, and it's okay to agree to disagree, but they should never be given validation to the point to where something that you say in regards to your own issues sounds anything like what they're saying. A lot of people are repeating things that people who don't like us say, and they don't deserve that validation. You know what I'm saying? Because I want people to understand something, right? We have our own issues with these migrants, right? Nobody's denying that. There's the competition for resources and everything. But you don't align yourself, you do not align yourself with a group who's literally been saying the exact same stuff about you. And now that they're distracted by migrants, they're saying it about migrants and not saying it about you until they feel like being agitated. Yeah, I agree. Facts. Shout out to Black Free Thinker. Zero alignment with the right is a rule. Facts. You know what I'm saying? Or if you ever have to repeat a talking point that's similar to something that they say, always make sure that you disassociate it with anything they got going on. Because they should never be given any validation. Ever. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, when we do things peacefully, we get ignored. And this is one of the reasons why they should never get any validation. They don't give us any validation. When we do things peacefully, we get ignored, right? Then we turn up. When we turn up, we're thugs. They claim to do things peacefully, claim to get ignored, which they've never done anything peacefully, and they've never been ignored. But because they didn't get the immediate response that they wanted, then they decided to turn up. And because they turned up and act like some immature babies, they're patriots. They care about their people. Look at them and all of their support behind their culture. Go, go, go. Man, you can't align with somebody who doesn't look at you as an equivalent. You have to have more self-valuation than that. You know what I'm saying? You have to value yourself more than that. You know what I mean? So now here it is. Here's the thing. All of us are quote unquote far right when our loved ones are at risk of being deleted by someone who shouldn't be in our country. Which that's not true. Again, that's an exaggeration. You know what I'm saying? That's some bullshit. But it is what it is. We'll just, we'll just leave that right there. Because let's just keep it a buck. The entire global order is the way that it is now because they were on our continent. You know what I'm saying? So if people had that kind of mind state and been like, like people shouldn't be here, things might be kind of different. But, people learn with time. You know what I'm saying? So maybe nowadays in today's world, people will look at things a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? So now what we're going to look at is interesting, right? The entire world treats black immigrants very similar. Here in the United States, they had the whips, they had the horses, you know what I'm saying, had the lassos. We gonna lasso these Haitians, you know what I'm saying, have it looking like a scene from the 1500s and get them back out of Haiti. They doing the same, not with the horses and the lassos, but they flying the Rwandans out of the UK. Tory MP seeks assurance from Cleverly amid Rwandan treaty delays. Now, remember we talked about the Rwandan plan yesterday? If you guys remember us talking about the Rwandan plan yesterday, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't remember us talking about the Rwandan plan, then give me a thumbs down. You guys remember we talked about the Rwandan plan? Mr. Cleverly suggested a plan to deport asylum seekers to Kigali was not the be all and end all of the government's immigration approach. So now I want you guys to pay very close attention to with how the mass deportation initiative starts with the black migrants when it comes to over there in the UK. Because like I said, at the end of the day, if they had a choice, if they was forced to choose which migrants they could keep, they would be totally fine with keeping those Muslim migrants You know what I'm saying? So now here it says James cleverly said he would not prejudge the content of the government's emergency legislation on its Rwanda scheme, as Tory MPs sought assurances the bill would allow for international treaties to be disapplied. So they're looking to break international treaties to get these Rwandans back to Rwanda. They really want to get rid of some black people. This is one of the reasons why it's so hard. It's so hard for me to understand, like, what goes on as far as, like, African governments and African politics. If I was a politician in Africa, man, I would have the only whatever you would consider European country that I would work with. The only European country that I would work with would be Russia. I wouldn't even deal with none of these countries in the West. And honestly, I wouldn't even deal with none of these countries in the West if I was an African government, just off the strength of the history. I don't even know why they still deal with any of these countries. Look at how they treat the African nationals when they go to their countries. Do that make sense? Well, yeah. I mean, Black Freethinker says even the Ruskies are kind of Asian between the ears. Russia is considered Asia. You know what I'm saying? But you still got you got different looking Russians. Like there's some Russians that look very ethnically Asian, and then you got the Russians like in the Slavic and Nordic regions that what I'm saying they clearly look white. The reason why I would work with Russia as an African nation is because I don't believe that Russia was involved for the most part in any of the legacy colonization. And also when it comes to dealing with Russia, at the moment, they can buy military equipment from Russia. Russia is not really doing anything economically to harm them. I would do business with Russia off the strength that at this current moment, Russia hasn't outwardly, openly exploited in the way that the Western countries have. Because remember, if we're doing business, right, that don't mean that I'm gonna be Russia's friend. That just means that I'm doing business. I wouldn't do business with Western countries. It's not a question of whether I would be a friend or not. I'm definitely not going to be your friend. But as far as a business relationship goes, and honestly, when it comes to Russia's track record with dealing with most of the countries that they deal with, it seems like most of the countries that deal with Russia have a pretty good relationship with them compared to what the United States has with the countries that we deal with. The United States is supposed to be allies with India. We're supposed to be allies with Turkey. Man, they sent Turkey into an economic crisis a couple years ago. They put sanctions on India as a result of something that was going on with C-19. Who wants to deal with somebody like that? You know what I'm saying? Now, here goes my thing, right? If there was a black superpower country that was equivalent to Russia, China, or the United States, I would love to, if I was doing business and I ran my own country, I would love to deal with one of them. But guess what? The self-interest to make something like that available for us is not there yet. So it doesn't exist. Which means that you got to choose between Walmart or Target or be a Target. You know what I'm saying? So when the desire is there to create a superpower like that, that'd be a viable option. But the people do not have enough self-interest to make that a viable option. So you have to deal with the next viable option. Or either you don't have to deal with the viable option and, you know what I'm saying, just kind of be stuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at Africa. They got every single resource that's necessary for the world. The information is all available now. Everybody knows exactly what time it is. Everybody knows how to build and create a powerful and strong nation. And yet, one doesn't exist. Which is the reason why somebody would have to choose between, if you were a smaller country like that, dealing with the United States or dealing with one of these other countries. That situation could change if they wanted to change. We'll see what happens. As of right now, it's not existent. So let's actually dive into that. Let's ask that question. Why is there no black superpower country? Shout out to Carla. What's good with it, Carla? That's my question for you guys. You got all the European superpower countries, you got Asian superpower countries, you got multiple Asian superpower countries, you got Japan, you got China, technically Russia, you know what I'm saying? You got, when it comes to European superpowers, you got the UK, you got United States. You know what all the superpowers of the world have in common? None of them are black. You know what I'm saying? Tia, shout out to Tia. Tia says, what I don't understand is if they have everything on their land, what do they need Russia and China for? They clearly don't have everything on their land. They don't have people with the capability to be able to utilize what they need appropriately to create a superpower. So that's what they need Russia and China for. They need to attach to a superpower because they're not either willing to or capable of creating that situation for themselves. So that's what they need Russia and China for. You know what I'm saying? That's what they need Russia and China for. You know what I mean? You remember Akon, according to Akon said that Nigerian people are the smartest people in the world. That's what Akon said, right? Everybody recall Akon saying that? Those are Akon's words, not mine. Akon, you know what I'm saying, said that Nigerian people are the smartest people in the world. If y'all remember Akon saying that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all don't remember him saying that, give me a thumbs down. So, by Akon's own words, on that continent that has the, by Akon's designation, smartest people in the world, those smartest people in the world haven't been able to utilize all of the treasures that they have to create a superpower. If the smartest people in the world can't do it, because those are the smartest people in the world, then I guess we're just SOL. You know what I'm saying? We just SOL because the smartest of the smart are there and they can't flip it. So if the smartest of the smart are there, then we're doomed. And what you see going on right now is doom. You know what I'm saying? If you had the smartest people in the world, then you should be able to come up with the most formidable weapons, the most thriving economy, the most superior architecture, the most thorough and accredited education institutes. Your artwork should be superior. Definitively. Akon's words. Nigerians, the smartest people in the world. Now, if the smartest people in the world can't flip the richest country in the world, according to Akon, Nigerians being the smartest people in the world, we doomed. Or people are just choosing not to. You know what I'm saying? So we got to ask the question, is this a choice or is this a lack of capability? You're the smartest person in the world because you can go to the United States and get a job as a surgeon, but you can't collectively use that intelligence to create a superpower in a place where literally the entire world has to get all of its resources from. You know what I'm saying? That's a very interesting paradigm. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Black Free Thinker. Black Free Thinker said Abe's thinking is in too many of their heads, so it's thereby impossible for them to develop into a major power. Well, you know what that means. That's black pill right there. Somebody's mission was accomplished. That's black pill. You know what I'm saying? That's black pill right there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Here go another reason why they need Russia and China. You know what I'm saying? You either do or you don't. You either do or you don't. And shout out to everybody hitting the bots. I appreciate it. And if you choose to be the don't, then you're just the don't. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says in his first home office questions as home secretary, the cabinet minister faced calls from the backburchers for parliament's sovereign will to take precedence over agreements like the European Convention on Human Rights if necessary. Europeans having any kind of convention involving anything about human rights is laughable. It's laughable. You know what I'm saying? shout out to Carlton Wade. Carlton Wade said, "Ooh wee, we in the off-code media sector of the show." That's hilarious. I honestly, for real though, think about this, bro. Think about this. The on-code people, right? The on-code people will sit there and say how ill-minded people are. I don't believe that. I don't believe that people are ill-minded at all. The off-code, the on-code people will sit there and say that we can't do some shit. The same people that sit there and say we the gods of the earth. Well, if you're the god, then you can do anything. Thanos snap, right? But then we'll turn around and sit there and say we can't do this. You can't be the god and not Thanos snap. Now, which one is it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Black free thinker. That's like a Hunters for Veganism convention. Facts. So my thing is that I believe that we're fully capable of doing all kinds of shit, but you got to look at what the evidence says. Does the evidence show that there's an interest? Now, there not being an interest, that don't say anything bad, right? Maybe people just ain't interested. You know what I mean? Maybe they just not interested. Honestly, for real, I think that a lot of people aren't interested. But the reason why I think that they're not interested is because they've been socially conditioned. So I feel that if people can become unsocially conditioned, then maybe they can develop that interest. You feel what I'm saying? But I don't think that a lot of people are interested. I think that a lot of people believe that the world today is the way that it's supposed to be. But if the world today is the way that it's supposed to be, then how do people have the questions and the inconsistencies that they have that they don't have answers to, that they just keep asking the questions about? You know what I'm saying? That's the question that you got to ask. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 41 people watching. And let me see what we got. And we got 44 likes. If everybody can smash that like button. Also, if you haven't hit the bell, please hit the bell and share the stream to your social media. That'd be great. But now check this out, Carlton. Check out how the alleged on code people will always be the people that say we can't do something. But then the very same people will be outraged when white people say that we can't do something. I get outraged when anybody say we can't do something. Because those people that supposedly on code that say that we can't do something, they got that from a white supremacist talking point. You know what I'm saying? That's where people get that shit from. If you look at the bell curve, the bell curve says that as a result of the IQ and as a result of the low impulse control, quote unquote, black people cannot create or maintain a society. I believe that we can create and maintain a society. I believe that we got all the means to be able to do it right now. And not only do I believe that we got the means to create a society, I believe that we have the means to create a society that's so strong that we can exert global influence. Your boy Umar Johnson, you're too ill-minded. Go get your ass a straight jacket. You want to get a leather jacket? Nah, go get a straight jacket. You want to get a starter jacket? Go get a straight jacket. You want to get an Averex jacket? Go get a straight jacket. You're ill-minded. Bro, shout out to Win Loser Rug. I get super outraged when somebody says we can't save money or we spend money on this and that. That is such a bad move coming from one of our own. Bro, facts. When people say all we do is kill or steal, it's always anytime anybody's trying to give this fist pumping message, they always give you the fist pumping message with the side bullshit. All we do is kill each other. All we do is harm each other. That's not all we do. I don't sit up here all day and harm other black people. That's not what I do. I've never engaged in that in my life at all. And I'm not going to accept that from anybody. I'm not going to accept that from Fox News. And I'm not going to accept that from the conscious community. I'm not going to accept that from nobody. You know what I'm saying? I can show you security camera footage of me yesterday showing that I didn't hurt a black person yesterday. I'm not about to sit up here and listen to that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? The people that harm people, listen, we get over scrutinized by the law. If every single black person was engaged in criminal degeneracy like these pro-black coons say, these PBCs, then literally they'd have us all in jail. Oh, they would make room. Them migrant encampments, those would be more jails and we'd be all in them. So somehow we get over scrutinized by the law, but at the same time, all of us don't do nothing but hurt each other all day. Man, going somewhere with that nonsense. What about the brothers and sisters that graduate from college? The people that's working professional jobs. Somebody had just dropped this article in the Discord just a minute ago about this young black dude right here, this 15-year-old in Memphis that gets a rare perfect score on the ACT test and has a 5.0 GPA. What about him? Like I literally had a debate with this dude at my job, and this dude at my job, right? Now, mind you, check it out, check it out, check this out. This is what shout out to TD Hip Hop Media. This is what TD Hip Hop Media be talking about how he be saying I be bullying people, right? So this cat at my job was sitting up there, oh, we do this and we do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I, 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 I get tired of hearing that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? From the people that's not supposed to be saying it. You know what I'm saying? So I sat there and I listened to him, and I said, "Okay, bro." I was like, "Well, I appreciate your honesty, and now what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to escort you out." You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to take your name badge and I'm gonna have to escort you out. And he said, "What you talking about, Rob? Like, why you about to do that?" And I said, "Because you said that all we do is hurt each other, and I know for a fact that I didn't hurt nobody." You know what I'm saying? But you just sat up here and told me that that's all we do, and I'm assuming that we includes you, which means that it's all kinds of unconvicted shit that you got on your record, and as a result of all that unconvicted shit you got on your record, you're a liability. You can't be here right now. Oh, that shit quickly changed. Well, no, I don't be doing none of that. Oh, you don't be doing none of that. Well, if you don't be doing none of that, then why you just sit up here for the last 10 minutes and tell me what we be doing? Because as you started sitting here telling me about all this messed up stuff we did, all I kept thinking is, well, how did you get through the employment process then? All we do is rob. All we do is steal. For real? Well, nigga, you don't need to be working here. And you a threat to everybody else here. You got to go. I mean, like, why are people programmed to do that? The majority of us are not in jail. Like, we don't have like there's 13% of black people here in the United States. 7% of us is not in jail. We're not detained. Like, where do people come up with this nonsense? And the thing that's crazy is that when people say this kind of stuff, they think that they're spitting knowledge. I'm finna help you out, little nigga. You ain't about to do shit but go steal some shit. Like, what? Shout out to them people in A Munson Park, but even one of them had said some shit, and I didn't say nothing because I didn't want to ruin the moment. You know what I'm saying? But the moment is past, so we can ruin it now. You know what I'm saying? He said, "Well, we got to have A Munson Park open so these kids don't go down there and just riot and tear up downtown." So if y'all don't have a park, the kids are gonna riot and tear up downtown? Really? And see, like when I talk and when I say stuff, people are always like, "Well, you never got anything bad to say." Uh, That's because everybody says it for us all damn day. So why are you sitting up here saying it? Another thing that I like to do is when people sit there and dog black people, I'd be like, I act like I'm about to say something, and then I'd be like, never mind. And they'd be like, what was you about to say? I was about to give you a compliment. You know what I'm saying? But you just sat up here and told me how, you know what I'm saying, horrible you are. So I guess you don't need the compliment that I was going to give you and shit. I ain't trying to be funny, man. Sit around and listen to some of these Pan-Africans. Sit around and listen to some of these pro-blacks, black conservatives, white supremacists. They all sound the same. They all sound the same, man. They got every reason of why you're stupid or why you can't do something. Or how all we do is just dumb shit. We don't know how to spend money. Are you serious? I know a black certified public accountant. You mean to tell me you don't think that this certified public accountant nigga that I know doesn't know how to spend money? You out your ever-loving mind. He's trusted to manage the finances of 6 business sites, but he can't manage his own money. Seriously? I can't stand it either. Oh my God, it drives me crazy, Tia. Shout out to Tia. Tia said, I hate when I ask for a solution and someone starts talking that we don't do ish. No, that's what I always say. You don't do shit. You know what I'm saying? And see, that's what I be telling people, man. People got to pay close attention to the way that they move. People got to pay close attention to the way that they talk. You don't want to be the next generation of old ninjas. I don't want to be that. That's one thing that I don't want. For me, at least. You know what I'm saying? But if the wealth gap is continuing to move towards zero in 2053 and we don't decelerate it or we don't take down a significant chunk, ultimately, that's what we're going to get looked at. We're going to be looked at as the next generation of old ninjas. People will have YouTube conspiracy theories. They let them ninjas have social media accounts so they could just sit around and babble all day instead of actually getting us our reparations. They're going to come up with something. That's why I want to do something, establish something, something monumental. You know what I'm saying? To leave a legacy of some forward progress. To me, like that's what people should be striving for. Shout out to Black Free Thinker. Black Free Thinker said perhaps if these pro wax are as interested in middle class Black Americans as they were in corner standers, then perhaps they wouldn't become coons 10 plus years afterwards. Bro, it's the pipeline. It is the pipeline, bro. It's the pipeline. Look at all them Black Democrats. That pipeline is real. And then they act like then they project onto everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Man, the projection is real. That's a whole nother stream for another day, though. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says it comes after Mr. Cleverly suggested the plan to deport asylum seekers to Kaliji, Kigali. I'm sorry, was not the be all and end all of the government's immigration approach following a Supreme Court judgment that ruled the scheme unlawful. So this plan that they had to deport these Rwandan immigrants, they deemed it as unlawful. Rishi Sunak's plan to save the policy involves the signing of a new treaty with Rwanda, and the introduction of emergency legislation allowing Parliament to deem the scheme safe, but this has been delayed. On Monday, Mr. Cleverly was asked by Tory MP Jack Brereton in the Commons whether the necessary legal exemptions would be in place. The Rwandan scheme is an incredibly important part of the basket of responses that we have. I will do everything to ensure that we drive down small boat arrivals. Now, let me ask you guys this question. The first question is, what's significant about the small boat arrivals, and where do the small boat arrivals come from? Right. Shout out to Black Free Thinker. So much projection that they can rival Magic Johnson in the movie theater ownership. Bro, you ain't never lied. You ain't never lied. That is the promise that we have made to the British people, and that is the commitment that we will deliver, the Home Secretary replied. Now, mind you, in that article that we read yesterday, they made it very clear that this promise was made to the white British people, not to all the British people. Remember, the whole issue behind this immigration is to maintain a white majority in the UK. That was the concern. That's what they talked about in that article yesterday. It's not my words, it's not me making this up. This is what they said. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says co-chair of the new Conservatives grouping of MPs, Miriam Cates, welcomed the yet to be published legislation and treaty, but asked for assurances that it would take precedence over the interpretation of international treaties. I can assure my right honorable friend the excellent working relationship that we have with Rwanda will give us the opportunity to have a treaty that addresses the issues in the Supreme Court judgment, Mr. Cleverly replied. So they have an excellent working relationship with Rwanda. You know what I'm saying? Yet and still, they treat Rwandan nationals like this. We're going to send them back. Shout out to G Mars. What's good with it, bro? Right. Shout out to Black Free Thinker. Black Free Thinker said, how did the Brits go from having the world's most powerful navy to apparently having a trash version of the Coast Guard in 100 years, bro? It's not sustainable. What they do is not sustainable. Shout out to Philip Goodman. What's good with it, bro? So now here it says, meanwhile, backbencher Simon Clark declared his profound conviction that this application of elements of the ECHR and the Refugee Convention will be necessary to tackle the crossings of small boats in the English Channel. All right, so these small boats is really giving people grief in the English Channel. Them undocumented bros global, you know what I'm saying? They overwhelm they overwhelming the poor excuse of a Coast Guard with them small boats. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like Lil Yachty. You know what I'm saying? They getting them with the small boats. You know what I'm saying? So let me see this real quick. They've been trying to work these deals out with Rwanda for a long time. So now again, what people should pay attention to is people should pay attention to how these African nations literally will take in these migrants, the ones that the European nations don't want for a check. You know what I'm saying? Now, if the European people don't want these people, I don't think that Rwanda should take them either. One thing that you should establish, if you ask me, is you should establish that you're not a dumping ground for somebody else's trash. That's one of the reasons why, people, there's that one drop rule or whatever. And what I find fascinating about the one drop rule is that people always cite the one drop rule as if that's actually a rule. That's not a rule. That's just some nonsense that racist white people came up with. It's not a There's no rule of that. Just because a racist white person says it doesn't mean that it's a rule. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't have an issue with mixed people. You know what I'm saying? At all. I don't have an issue, you know what I'm saying, with any of that, right? However, I say that to say this. When you talk about certain things and you talk about people being treated equally, when you talk about some elements of quote unquote equality, it's going to make you sound bigoted or it's going to make you sound racist. But the reason why you have to present these things is not to present these things to harm the individuals who are the subject matter, but you got to present these things to attack the arguments. White people don't even follow the one drop rule. And they claim that it's some type of rule back in the day when it was first cited. So why do people still cite it today is my question. I remember when Barack Obama had first got elected. You know how many arguments I got into with people when I said he's mixed? People will argue with me and say he's black. And I would say, how does that work? How does that work? Look at him. He's black. Okay. Go look at French Montana. Is he black? What do you go look at Drake? Is he black? What are you saying? Look at him. He's black. What does that mean? How the hell is Barack Obama or Kamala Harris black? If you allow white people to say that a mixed person is black, what you're doing is allowing white people to say that your black genetics is a contamination. Because how the hell can somebody be mixed? How can you have a black parent and a white parent and you're black? So I used to say that Barack Obama was a white president, and people used to get pissed. White people and black people will both get pissed. We've had all white presidents. What about Barack Obama? He's white. No, he's not. No, he's not. Okay, he's not. Why is he black? Well, his father is black. Okay, his mother is white. So for the same reason that you're calling him black, I'm calling him white, and there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, that made people mad. I have no idea why it made black people mad. No idea. None whatsoever. I know why it made white people mad. I always say the same thing too about Kamala Harris. Well, Judge Joe Brown posted a birth certificate that shows that her mom is white on her birth certificate. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going by the documents. You know how you guys use the documents with the 13% of the population commit 55% of the crime? I'm using the document from the Bureau of Vital Statistics that says that she's white. Oh, no, she's black and this, that, and the other. No, I get it. I understand, right? You know what I'm saying? Because like it's a lot of mixed people that's down for the cause. You know what I'm saying? Like they straight up, you know what I'm saying? Just you know what I'm saying? They for the most part, all intents and purposes, black. But then you got some mixed people that's problematic. You know what I'm saying? And then you got other mixed people that just living their life. You know what I'm saying? They ain't even thinking about none of this kind of shit. Mixed people, if you ask me, are not the problem. The problem goes back to the group of people who's always trying to define who people are for their own benefit. They give everybody else definitions of who they are for their own benefit. One of those benefits is to confuse people and to pit people against each other. And then they turn around and say that somebody pitting everybody else against each other. Who pitting anybody against each other? Y'all the ones came up with all these definitions, all these dividing lines, all these borders. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, what people got to understand is that when people do that kind of stuff, like that's not a flex. One like they actually act like, you know what I'm saying, like there's something special about, you know what I'm saying, like them maintaining genetic integrity and all this, right? That's what they pride themselves on, right? But then when you maintain the genetic integrity and say, listen, man, we ain't a genetic dumping ground, you don't get to classify this person as a part of the group that I'm a part of. You don't get to make that determination. See, because there's rules that genetics show, right? And then there's also cultural adaptation rules and stuff like that, and neither of which should be defined by anyone outside of that group. Yeah, and that's fact. Shout out to Black Free Thinker. People tend to forget that South Asians and Middle Easterners were able to check the white box prior to 9/11 of 2001. Yeah, facts. Facts. Anytime I would get into a Barack Obama conversation, the first thing, especially if I was talking to a white person, the first thing that I would establish is that Barack Obama is a white president. Now, do I have a problem with Barack Obama? Politically, I got issues with him. Personally, do I hate the man? No. Do I wish any ill will on him? No. Do I have a problem with him because of his ethnicity? No. It's all about the intellectual warfare, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to force me to accept that I'm from an undesirable class of human being and that we are a contaminant. See, because that's how contamination science works. That's how sanitation works, right? There's what's called sterility, right? Then there's parts per million. You know what I'm saying? And then there's contamination levels. That group of people has created worldwide propaganda to make the entire world feel and assume and believe that we are a contaminant. The only way where you can have two halves and one half overtakes the other half is if it's looked at as a contaminant. If you have equal parts per million and yet one half overrules the other half, it's looked at as a contaminant. When people sit there and be like, oh, we got the dominant genes and all of this stuff and all that. Yeah, we have dominant genes that show up, you know what I'm saying? And they express a little bit more, but that's not what they're saying when they say that stuff. They're not giving you props because, you know what I'm saying, if you got a mixed kid, your baby was born with a wide nose or your baby was born with curly hair. They're calling your child contaminated because black people are looked at as a contaminant. It's the exact same way that they operate politically. That's one of the reasons why they do white flight. In these neighborhoods, middle class neighborhoods, one or two black people move in, all the white people move out. They literally look at us like a contaminant. That's how they can, with confidence, sit there and say, well, we know Barack Obama's got a white mom, but her child is contaminated because the father is black. So he's black. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they've used reverse psychology. Facts. The whole racism behind the BBC stereotype. You know what I'm saying? And as a facts, I agree 100%. Not only is it relatively benign, you know what I'm saying? It's very prevalent in damn near every single one of the cultures. But then they try to project that onto other people. Now, as hard as they're fighting to try to say that Hannibal is white, I guarantee you that Barack Obama has more white DNA than Hannibal. How come actual Justice Warrior or none of the woke crew is out there trying to claim Barack Obama as a white man? Everything is being blackwashed. We live in woke 2023. So why are no white people fighting to claim the legacy of Barack Obama? Somebody be outraged to get Denzel Washington to play Barack Obama in a movie. You know what I'm saying? So you know more definitively that Hannibal wasn't black, but you will sit here and deny that Barack Obama is mixed with a white mom. Do you see what I'm saying? These are the troll games that these people be playing. But then when you actually like stand on it and be like, "Nah, you ain't running that." They get mad. Let me ask y'all that look, matter of fact, we really for real need to start like doing that. Let's actually take some accountability, shall we? We're very woke for saying that Barack Obama is a black president. And arguably, by us saying that Barack Obama is a black president, one could say that we're blackwashing history. And we don't want to make any of those Disney and Netflix mistakes in the future to upset our counterparts. So I think we need to start giving white people their proper due and allow them to claim Barack Obama as a white president. What do you guys think about that idea? If you guys think that that's a good idea, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that is a good idea, give me a thumbs down. Because we're not a genetic dumping ground. Now, Barack Obama and his Democrat counterparts will try to turn that into some type of, oh, you're being racist and this, that, and the other. No, we're not being racist. It's actually racist to look at us as a contaminant. That is racist. It's racist to say, well, I mean, you just put one drop of that in the water and it's going to turn the whole water black. That's racist. It's no good anymore. Put a little drop of oil in the water, it's no good anymore. That's what they're saying. That's why they call it the quote unquote one drop rule. You put one drop of chocolate in the milk, the whole damn cup turns brown. That's what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Professor Black Truth because Professor Black Truth broke that shit down about that Leroy name. They got people so screwed up in the head. It's a lot of stuff that people take and adopt that's actually, they laughing at you about it because you're adopting some court jester type shit. Facts. Shout out to Black Free Thinker. Put one drop of villainy in your soul and let it compound. Big facts. Yeah, when Professor Black Truth was breaking down that name Leroy, you know what I'm saying? When people say like people always tend to fall into little traps like that. You know what I'm saying? The self-devaluing type of trap. Everything is an inside joke, bro. Every single thing, literally everything. That's why if you ask me, we got to rip up and readopt. Like a lot of the soul food that people eat, man, it was literal garbage. That's the reason why we ate it, because they didn't give us no good food when we were slaves. And now we celebrate that, you know what I'm saying? Literally eating scraps. Every time, you know what I'm saying, one of them will hear, especially in the South, be like, hear one of us being like, yeah, we about to make some pig feet, or about to make some chitlins, or about to make some collard greens or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They chuckling and shit. That grandfather, great grandfather, great grandmother inside of them chuckling and shit. Because they know that shit was in a bucket of slop that was thrown outside somewhere. And they sat around and watched people fight over it for entertainment. You know what I'm saying? And the reason, I'm gonna tell you guys something. The reason why people tell you, oh, just forget about that stuff, and you know what I'm saying, don't worry about that, and why do you dwell on that, and this, that, and the other, right? Imagine if you did all that shit. Your biggest fear would be walking around with the thought of sudden karma happening one of these days. That would be your biggest fear, more than likely. And people don't really like to walk around with a lot of fear. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine, and the more that you gain illegitimately, the more karma that you have coming. So just imagine the preeminent karma that they walk around with, thinking could just slam down at any moment. Oh, hurry up and forget. The more they try to make you forget, the better they feel. Well, I dodged that bullet today. No more dodging bullets. No more dodging bullets. See, because it would be a different story if it was a situation of like, there was a war and the war got won and the people got conquered and the people adopted the culture, and that was the end of discussion, right? Because in most cases, there might be some type of societal classes, and there's rich people and poor people, you know what I'm saying? But usually, when people clash, eventually what ends up happening is the cultures kind of combine, and then there's just this normalization. That didn't happen with us and them. That didn't happen. What happened with us and them was not normal. Now, am I sitting up here saying that there's gonna not be brutality in a war? No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, at some point, there's a point of regulation where things just kind of normalize and the cultures kind of form together as one. A new nation forms, and the new culture kind of just progresses on. That didn't happen. They specifically made it so that that didn't happen. And that right there is, to me, that says something else. That's going too far. See, like, if you get in a like, if I get into a fight with somebody, if I knock you out, You know what I'm saying? Or if I win the fight, that's it. You know what I'm saying? We done. You know what I'm saying? First of all, it wasn't even no fight with us. For one, they snuck us. You know what I'm saying? Right? So we walking down the hallway, somebody run up from behind and punch you in the back of the head. Then when you fall down, you know what I'm saying? The rest of the crew jump on top of you and start kicking you for no reason, right? Now that they done, they done knocked you out, kicked you, stomped you, beat you up, got you on the floor. Now they peeing on you and shit. You know what I'm saying? Then after they get done pissing on you, then they start throwing dirt all over you. See, now that's going too far. You went too far. That's something different. That's different than a fight. That's different than a fight. Because, see, once I get up from that, i.e., gain consciousness, see, I'm about to do something to you. Now, see, if I had just took a L, if I had just took some lumps and that was it, okay, I took some lumps, I took an L, that was it. Nah, but see, you did all that other shit. Not to mention not to mention why you knocked out, steal your wallet. Yeah, steal your wallet, steal your car, steal your family, steal your woman. You know what I'm saying? Steal your kids, steal your identity. See, like I said, it's a difference between a fight. You square up, you win some, you lose some. You go ahead about the business after the fight's over. But that ain't what happened. That's not what happened. Like I said, first of all, it wasn't even never no square up with us. It was we hit you in the back of the head. So that's violation number one. So now, see, that's the reason why they want people to downplay it, because the response, the retaliation from everything that we went through and all the collaborators involved, man, that would take out half of the world population if people got on the right mind state. Because there's a lot of collaborators. And see, like I said, I'm not one of those type of people. I already know that all skin folks ain't kin folks. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk about them folks, I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying, people like Candace Owens, Larry Elder, Officer Tatum. They part of all that. You know what I'm saying? Non-FBA people that be trying to, you know what I'm saying, create problems. They are the same. You know what I'm saying? You put on those focus infrared goggles, all you see is targets. Be like Predator had them 3 triangle dots on your face. You know what I'm saying? Then it's all over. But this is what I'm saying though, man. That's one of the reasons why they want to try to downplay that. Instead of making stuff right, nah. We don't want to make stuff right. But then also we don't want to deal with the consequences and the repercussions of the results of everything that was done. That's why I always tell people a lot of the stuff that we go through, it's a war of attrition and it's a mental game. It's a mental game. That's why people are always playing these games on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? That's why people are always saying all of this stuff that they say that makes absolutely no sense. All of this stuff is testing the waters. All of this stuff is testing the waters. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is that It's time for people to replace that water with acid and then say, go ahead and dip your finger into that. You know what I'm saying? So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, that is the end of Undocumented Bros Global Part 2. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get into Part 3 probably later on in the week. Because for the most part, now you guys got the background and now you guys got the context. So now we can get into this stuff, you know what I'm saying, and go with the current events. Because now you guys are able to see the connection to how the Undocumented Bros global situation contributes to the border crisis that we got going on now. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to give a shout out to the stream sponsor, Black Spider. Definitely appreciate it. Make sure you guys show her some love. Please throw some radiation emoji in the chat for her. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,